Flag and to release in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of regular meeting minutes that you guys received in your packet Friday, I guess. And if anyone doesn't have any questions or anything on the meeting minutes, I'll accept a motion to approve those. Motion by Clayton. Do I have a second? Second by Gina. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is approval and ratification of bills, which were also sent out last week. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about the bill list? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the approval and ratification of the bills as presented.
So moved.
Billy, second by Clayton. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Visitors, looks like we've got a few visitors here. Tim, you want to come up first and talk to us about the truck and the Sourcewell people that you can try to explain it, but I can't.
Yes. Evening, everyone, Mayor, Council. I'm here requesting funds for a Quint/ladder truck. The one I currently have is 35 years old. It struggles to make its annual pump and ladder test. They actually give us a couple of breaks on the last time they was here. If purchased, this truck would be first out in the city on everything except medical runs. Our engine 63, which is 35 years old also, would be put in reserve for ISO ratings and would be special called if needed and for training only.
Which truck is that?
Engine 63,
Okay.
that's our
type?
city pumper.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 35 years old also.
Okay. And it'll be put in reserve?
Yep, and used for special called and for training purposes.
Okay.
The Quint, if purchased, would actually take the place of two trucks, itself and engine 63, since it would be first out.
Okay. How would it be used in a county run?
Huh?
How would it be used on a county run if?
The only way it would be used in county run if it was special called and actually needed.
Okay.
That would be my call.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't see it going out of town.
Okay.
So.
Now, there's something going on with the Quinn now?
The Quint is having issues with the hydraulics. Also, it's got a steering assist shock that's busted. Atlantic is trying to locate one now. It's been 2 weeks since they've been searching, and they haven't found one yet. So it's partially out of service unless it's absolutely needed. So, and it's usually second out in town. You know, if we have anything like a structure fire or rescue or something like that, so.
Okay.
Tim, I'm sorry. Explain to me what the hydraulics, the part that's, how does that impact the truck? I'm an idiot on
It
this.
affects its steering,
Okay. Okay.
so it would have to be an absolute emergency before it was ever used. And then it couldn't respond to emergency anyway, so.
Now, the hydraulics too, if you correct me, Tim, if I'm wrong, it has to do with the ladder also, Denny. From what I understand, there's allowances from what it should be.
Right, yeah.
To,
Yeah, it struggles every year.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky if it passes this time,
okay.
but I'm hoping it passes, so.
Yeah. Well, what we've done, guys, y'all have a packet with some information in it. We'll talk here in a minute. Tim will say something about, there's a group called Sourcewell that they're a co-op. They actually buy things like this for everything from smaller cities to larger cities. They're basically kind of like buying on state contract, but a little different. And so you do have a price here in this packet. We probably don't need to bring that up yet in case we do have to, if we do decide to bid it out, like, you know. So that'll keep us on.
How would we not have to bid it out?
This Sourcewell group apparently does that type of thing in lieu of buying on state contract. Earlene's looked at it some, I read about it some this afternoon, but
There's no, I had this issue come up before and did some research on it.
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Can you hear me? Okay. I actually looked into this issue a year or two ago, and there's no statute or case law that specifically addresses the co-ops. And so it's one of those limbo gray areas. There's nothing that says we can't do it, but there's nothing that says we can. So it's not a traditional bidding process. So what advice I can give you is, if you want to err on caution, you could bid it. If you wanted to go forward, because there is nothing specifically saying we can't, then, I mean, it's going to be your all's call as a council, so.
So we don't have to bid out, right?
Well, there's nothing that, essentially, these co-ops basically do the bidding in-house themselves, but they're not a state contract. It's not a state contract bidding, so it's a different process. The co-ops are kind of a new issue, and there hasn't been an attorney general's opinion or any case law. It's like one of those new issues that just hasn't went through the courts yet to decide if it is proper bidding or not. So it's just one of the gray areas. There's no state law on it right now.
How many companies make this truck? How many companies make this truck?
I'm not sure.
Several, or just?
Yeah, just a handful. Yeah,
What do you plan to do with the old one?
sell it. Yeah, while it's still working and in
Right.
service,
Yeah.
passing its test, we can sell it.
It needs to
But,
be fixed if we sell it.
yeah,
I mean, we need to sell it with good revenue.
yeah, because if we did decide to go ahead and purchase a truck, it'd be 2025 or 2026 before we'd even get it. It's a 3-year build time. So,
If you get a ladder truck like this, did I hear you say that you'd be using it for every run?
every run except for medical runs in city,
In the city.
city only.
And this Sourcewell group is out of Minnesota, and I'd like to be able to make contact with them, see what their fees are and all that before we commit anything to them. I don't know how they make their money. That wasn't on their website, so I think we need some more
How about we
information.
just table it and look over this package, and maybe you can make contact with them, and you and Arlene can
Yes.
make contact with.
And I would
Legality and.
yeah. I definitely recommend reaching out, getting an email so you have a paper trail and them lay out their process of how they negotiate and how they come up with their prices. So that way you'll
When's
have
your
it
next
like,
inspection?
January.
Does this truck affect the ISO rating?
It will. If they get wind that it's out of service, they'll give us a certain amount of time to get it fixed. But I've got McDaniel's as standby because they've got a tower, and it helps us on a rating to have somebody that close.
Tim, is this pretty much the standard for any manufacturer? You're going to expect a couple years from anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, and I assume you've probably done, they're probably all within a few dollars of each other on
Yeah.
the same type truck from the other
Pierce-
manufacturers?
Pierce's quality is quite a bit better than most, but I'm sure there's some that's out there that's probably compatible, I'm sure.
So how long will it take, if we did it right now, waiting for the mayor to contact this Sourcewell, talked to Jason, how long it would take?
There's actually a truck that's on the assembly line right now we could get in 2025, which is 2 years.
And so you're gonna take 2 years, any kind of emergency vehicle is taking
Yeah.
at least 2 or 3 years.
So,
Like if you're in 2 or 3 and so
Yeah.
if we went with somebody else, it might, or we wait.
Hmm. Yeah. Because there's not that many out there.
my experience from buying trucks from my previous job, if they tell you 2, you figure on 2.5 or 3 usually.
Yeah.
Seems to have how most of that worked,
We did
so.
the same thing.
So,
I think you're underestimating Tim's influence and his abilities with dealing with people.
yeah. So is everybody in favor of tabling it for now? Let's find out some more about this Sourcewell state contract information and stuff like that, and then we can bring it back next meeting. Okay.
Sound good?
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Do you need a motion?
I'd go ahead and make a motion to table it, that, no way to help in
I'll make
minutes.
a motion to,
I'll second.
Second by Gina, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Do we have any more visitors? Mr. Dennis, do you want to address the council? Okay. How's Pam today?
Wonderful. Good evening, y'all. I'm Pam Stevenson. Most of you know me as Pam Frame. I'm here tonight, I guess, kind of representing some landlords. I am a landlord myself. Managed my family's property, been managing over 30-plus years. It's been brought to my attention that there's going to be a discussion this evening regarding some of the utilities possibly being put toward the landlords to cover. So I just like to be here tonight, hear what y'all have to say. After y'all have what to say, if we're given an opportunity again to speak on our behalf, because this affects us in many different ways. And so I'd like to hear what y'all have to say, what it's about, and then give an opportunity to speak again on behalf of some of us that couldn't be here tonight, but I chose to be here because I think it's important, because small things can affect us in a large way. So I just want to thank y'all, and after we hear about the utilities issue, then I'd like to address it again and give you our concerns as landlords, how it would affect us in the future.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead with our itinerary? Do you want to go ahead and do that part now, so that, since she's brought it up?
I'm fine with
Y'all
doing
okay with
that.
that? Yeah. All right, so let's
So
look
you
down
make
in
the
new
big bucks.
business. Excuse me, Danny?
So that's why you make the big bucks, Mayor.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Down in new business, trying to find which one it is.
Second one down.
The second one, yes, the second one down there. Discuss requiring landlords to provide water to their tenants. So let's discuss that. What do you guys think, Danny? You want?
give me some background.
Well, I think some of this originated from some calls that I made to Tyler regarding properties, not necessarily just the water, but they were not habitable properties. And as far as the utilities being withdrawn as a way to get the tenants to move out, or the utilities not being in working order for the tenants, whether they were paying or weren't paying. And I just was discussing that, you know, I think there needs to be something as far as the level of what you can rent, can't rent out.
Are you saying not working on the city side? Or
No,
on the
not
landlord?
working on the landlord side.
But they do have services.
Some did. some-
Services are available.
Services are available,
They just don't turn them on. And that's the tenant's responsibility.
not always.
When would it not be?
Some landlords rent that they pay the utilities.
I got you.
And then when they are not able to move the people out, the utilities are cut off. I know that's a tenant landlord thing, but as a city, I don't know that we have anything in place as to what is considered habitable, not habitable.
We do.
We do.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
You can come
So-
back up, Pat,
Yeah.
if you want to. We can discuss it together.
Sorry.
It's all
It's
right.
okay.
Okay. Again, 30-plus years here. The city does. Here's a bill that I paid Friday. And what it is, as a landlord, we choose to whether they pay the utilities or we do, okay? In my 30-plus years' experience, 95% of them that pay the utilities with the rent, you'll see them, when they spot behind on the rent, that means you're not going to get your rent or the utilities. Friday, I come into the city, I had to pay a balance of $84.71. That was after their $100 deposit was already paid. Does that sound like a lot? Well, that's just one. I had a commercial property. I ended up paying about $1,200 after the deposits. So this is where we're at. As a landlord, they choose sometimes other things besides turning the utilities on. They pay the rent, but they would rather spend their money elsewhere than to turn the utilities on. But as a landlord now, if they don't pay, say their bill's due June 10th, they don't pay that. We as landlords get a notice saying, hey, this has not been paid. At that point, you got to understand they're already 1 month behind. So you've got that month and what they use from that date up to the day you receive your notice, okay? So at that point, you can call and say, hey, listen, they're behind on the rent. Listen, we're not getting paid. Y'all not going to get paid. If they don't pay, shut it off. Is that mean of us? Not really, because guess who's going to pay that bill? We are, okay? Which I understand where y'all are coming from. A lot of people refer to me as the slumlord. Well, that's fine. Where are they going to find any place else for $200 a month? Most people in this community can't afford it very much. If they did, we wouldn't have several low-income housing. But if that's what they want to refer to me, that's fine. But there's people that rent from me, that's all they can afford because of their income, how they choose to live. And I will be honest with you, most of my rentals I rent as is because they will not, in any form or fashion, take care of the property. So not only do we lose a water bill, I'm going to have damaged property, I'm going to have no rent paid. So I can understand where you come from going out, but as a landlord, you got to understand the bills, the insurance, the eviction. Okay, well now if you do an eviction, if they move in and you have John Doe as the tenant, they move in Jane Doe and 3 kids, okay? They choose not to put them on the lease. When you go to evict, you got to give John Doe, Jane Doe, and the 3 kids an eviction. So that's $60 per person you have to evict through the county sheriff's office to have them served. Then you have to give them 30 days. So that's another 30 days of running up this bill that I'm going to be responsible for if it's not been shut off. Does that make me a bad landlord? No, but I'm paying the bills. So then after that, you get 30 days. If they're not, then you go to court. So you're going to have to pay an attorney, and you're going to have to go sit court day. So I see what you are saying, but right now, as the landlords, we're already paying. When they don't pay, we pay. And we're the landlords that put it into the rent. If they don't collect the rent, then guess what? They're paying the utilities for them anyway. And a lot of times, and I don't mean this wrong to anybody, but in society right now, there's too many people picking other things besides paying the rent, utilities, etc. And this is also, I wanted to address it this way, okay? If we as landlords are going to have to be responsible for these utilities, what about all the homeless in our area? Why are they not being provided for? Where's their water? Where's their garbage? Where's their sewer? Where's their electric? Okay? If you're going to make us provide it for them, who's providing it for our homeless in our area? So, I mean, there's 2 ways to look at this. I'm not cold-hearted. I am a Christian, but also I'm a business owner that has a business to run. I have over 30 years experience at this. I ain't gonna tell you how old I am, most of you know, but anyway, plus 30 plus years. But it'd be like me going to Mr. Dallas and saying, Mr. Dallas, as an EMS, I'm gonna tell you how to do your job. I can't because I know his job. I'm not educated in that. Until you own property and do this on 24-hour basis every day, it's kind of hard to say, hey, let's put another bill on them. But we are notified when they are delinquent, and then we can choose to turn it on or turn it off or leave it on. I mostly try to leave it on because usually there's a child involved. But at the end of the day, I have to pay. So this has to be paid for the next person can get it turned on. So the city does collect from somebody. So I would just wish y'all consider not doing that to us. We got enough. We got taxes, we got property taxes, we got city, county property taxes. We have insurance. And I promise you, they don't take care of, I don't know, most of y'all of my generation, the people of today don't take care of the properties like they used to. I'm renting to people that were grandparents rented from us, okay? The grandparents respected us. Their parents respected us. But we've got a generation now that has no respect for anyone. And the damage to our properties is more now than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
What majority of the people that you rent to do that?
If they move out, I have 100% damage.
But I mean, in all your renters, how many of them usually do you have to deal with that does that?
What, the water?
They don't pay the water bill, and you have to
50% or
pay-
more. I get a notice, at least 50% of my residentials, and I have recently got it on a couple of commercial properties. Because they're trying to pay, finding people to do their job, to work for them. So I've had even a couple on some of my commercial properties. The last commercial was $1,200 to pay so the next person can move in. So I'm just asking, before you all do that, consider what effect it would have on us. Because we already pay enough. We pay the property tax, we pay our insurance, we have to pay for the damage, And I was asking y'all to consider maybe, before y'all do that, kind of see how it would affect us as landlords. And I know y'all been fair. This went in years ago, before maybe two of you might have been on the council, I can't remember. But it's been years and years ago. I was a young girl when this passed. My grandfather and others stood up for this and did not want it to pass, but it did pass. So we have nicely accepted this over the years, because anything they leave, we pay. So I just like for y'all to consider it. It would just be more burden on us as landlords.
My thinking whenever I mentioned this to Tyler was not to impose any bills on the landlord. When I was getting calls, I got several calls from tenants. One lady's living in one that she has asked and asked and asked for a toilet to be put in that worked. They're living without that. Had another lady call, she could see the holes in the floor. Snakes were crawling in, she had kids. Just different things like that they're really not habitable places.
And then I understand that, but then come from come from this direction. Most people, I rent my homes as is, because if you try to set inspections, I try to do the inspections, honey. I didn't care no more about you coming in doing an inspection or nothing. I do know there's landlords that will not take care of their homes. I understand that. And there's times when I can't get to it right then because you've not paid me 2 months rent or 3 months rent. You're wanting something done. Well, how do I do that when you're not paying your rent? How do I do this because I lost rent and this? So sometimes you do have landlords that refuse to fix stuff. But also you have landlords that, sometimes like me, you have to put a hold on it because they've not paid you 3 or 4 months of rent. So how do you pay for something to be repaired when they're not? And I'd say 50% at least of the people that rent don't really care about their property. They know if they decide to move, they don't have it. And I know I'm not trying to be judgmental, I'm just being honest.
That's the.
Yeah, and I don't mean, I'm not being,
That's your business.
yeah, so,
On that aspect of it is, I can't go to the save lot and tell them quit serving or selling meat, okay?
Yes.
I mean, you're in a business.
Yes.
You're a landlord. That's a business opportunity.
and
It is,
I
but I
understand.
don't think just because somebody's low income that they shouldn't be allowed to have minimal living standards.
I agree, but they signed a lease to rent it.
I understand that.
And I understand, and I know one of those people, and I know they're having troubles with their landlord, and I hate that, because
Right.
then it comes back, and they look at all landlords like that. And like I said, some people call me a slum landlord, that's great, I may be, but they pay $200 a month, what do you expect? I mean, and I've got some that I rent for more than that, and the home I put them in a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and it's embarrassing. I went and showed a piece of property the other day, and it was kind of embarrassing because it's not the home it should be. But it doesn't do you good to go in there and to inspect it, because they're gonna hear it right here, and it's gonna go out right here. But I just ask, I understand y'all's position too, but I just ask on our behalf, kind of not putting more on us than what we can do, because, you know, it's been difficult for us.
My question to you, is that a legality thing? Can you go in there and shut their water off? Tyler, is there something on the, I mean,
That's outside of my expertise there. There's probably laws against that, but if I can kind of intervene a little bit, I think we're getting at a fork in the road here where one person was thinking one thing and somebody else is taking it as another. I don't think that it was brought up to say that you want the landlord to pay utilities.
No.
You just want them to have suitable facilities. Is that where you were going with this?
That was my.
Okay, I think
thought.
there was a disconnect in
Yeah,
that.
Not that I.
there wasn't, but I thought
okay.
it was over utilities.
So what it is, it's to have acceptable services. So basically saying that they have functioning toilets and showers and faucets and things like that, to where they can hook up to sanitary
And this is
sewer
what I
and
would
they
say
can hook
to
up
your
to.
person.
But
I
all
Water
understand what
source.
they
Tyler's-
offer utilities with their rent.
But
Yeah.
If they don't offer utilities with their rent, and they can hook up, and they do have all that works.
see,
This
that-
is what
that's
I would
I'm saying.
suggest your person, from a landlord to you, for the people that's approached you, if it's okay, if it's all right with them. This is how I would approach that situation. I would go to the landlord and say, hey, you know, is there a reason why there's not a toilet? Okay, that landlord's gonna say, well, I put 3 in there already. Or, why is there not a new faucet? Well, I've put them in faucets in there. So you would need, if I was you, and if I'm the landlord, you feel free to come see me, I would say, okay, why has this not been fixed? You know, why, can you tell me why this has not been fixed? And it may surprise you, the reasoning why it's not been fixed. It may surprise you. And I'm serious. And then be willing to say, okay, once that landlord says, okay, I'll go put that toilet in. Well, once the landlord puts that toilet in, go back and follow up and say, okay, this has been done. But then, in a few months, go back and see if it's been upkept. That's the thing you get. I understand where you're coming from now. You know, when I understood, I thought, oh no, here we go, we're gonna be paying more than this bill. But I see where you're coming from, and it's sad that you have this in our community, but you have it anywhere in the United States. It's sad that we've got some landlords that just won't do. But sometimes, before you approach it, you need to go and say, hey, tell me why that you don't have that toilet in there, or tell me why you didn't put that faucet in there, or tell me why, and talk with the landlord and see what they say. Because there may be a reason why. I put in a new toilet twice, and I finally said, listen, you gotta stop getting the kids going there and wreak havoc in the house. So I understand what your concern is, and I understand that, but also you might go and say, hey, why did you not do that? And address it with the landlord directly and see, you know.
Do you rent it contingent to the people going, if they don't want you to do it, do you rent it contingent?
I rent it as is, where it is, all repairs they do, and any receipts they would like to bring me, I will work with them.
If they, what I'm saying is, do you rent it, and then if they don't bring you something showing that they have got water? do
To
you
get
go
water
ahead
turned
and-
on in the city of Leitchfield,
Do you go ahead though and rent it to them if they don't prove that they got water?
I rent them the place, it's up to them. I'm not their mama. It's up to them to go to the city hall and get their paper. Am I correct? We as landlords, whether it's commercial or residential, they have to bring a paper for me to sign. It's not my responsibility to go hold their hand, to get the money, to choose, am I gonna turn the water on for my children, or I'm gonna do what I wanna do? But the city will tell me that they bring me a piece of paper, I have to fill it out, that they are renting it, I have to give them a copy of the rent agreement, so if there's any questions, yes. Yes. And I have had some people to rent a home and be a month or so down the way before they even decide to turn the water on, because in the time of moving, they've not had time, or they're fixing it up or sweeping it out or something. But yes, I know when they turn the water on because they bring a paper from the city for me to sign to get it turned on.
Would it be simpler to up the rent and you pay the water bill?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Because what's going to happen, they're going to get ticked off at you, and when they leave, they're going to turn these water faucets on, or they're going to damage or put something in the toilet to make the water run. Yes. Because, yeah. if you make a tenant mad, they're more likely to do damage and cause you more trouble if you just let it go. That's the reason we eat these, and I smile and say, it's okay. I have got people in the store that I have now that I have evicted in the past, and they come to me and say, Pam, I'm sorry, and do business with me now, because they know now I didn't mean to do what I had to do, but I had to do. So, but I appreciate, and I'm grateful that you're concerned, Gina, because that means you're looking out for the people in your area, and I think that's wonderful, that they feel they can come to you, and I think it's a good thing, that just follow up. I'm not on council, but as a landlord, come to me and say, hey, this person said this, can you tell me why it's this way?
We have.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So, but that's this,
Okay.
and I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think my
Dennis, you wanna
concern,
come up?
okay, I'm sorry.
So the agenda says that we are going to discuss requiring landlords to provide water to their tenants. Are we going to discuss requiring landlords to provide water to their tenants, or was that just a misprint? Is that a misprint, or is that actually up for discussion?
I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, Gina, I think what we're looking for is that landlords, that the houses they rent actually have access to that. 'Cause a lot
If it's
of-
in the city of Litchfield, though, they all have utility lines run to them, correct?
I would say most of them do, and a lot of landlords will make the renter put it in their name.
Right.
Because we found over years, if it's in the landlord's name and they don't pay the rent, the
And I'm
landlord
like,
can
if
cut it off.
Services are there, I think is what we get.
Right.
Now, if services aren't at the house, where you can't turn the meter on and off, whole different story.
Right.
Can you,
That's kind of where I was
All right,
can
getting
so-
at.
Tyler help me out there? Hold on.
Yeah, come on.
Hello, guys, David Dennis. So what you're discussing is not, there's already statute on the law, a statute against this. So if you've got a multifamily residential property with a single meter, in the situation that you're talking about with with water, some landlords, what they'll do is they've got one water meter with a multifamily complex, okay? So if they want to evict somebody and they're having problems, they'll shut the water off to that apartment, to that one unit. That's illegal. That's already something they've already went against statute. So there are several buildings around here, I own 2 of them around here that is in that situation. Could I do that? Yes. But at that point, I've already fell off the cliff of what I'm willing to do anyway.
Well, you said it was illegal.
It's illegal, that's what I'm saying, it's already illegal to do so. Now, with what you were speaking of about ensuring people have good homes, okay? That's one of the things that I'm working as hard as I can to do in this community. Now, the thing that we can't do is we can't make it where in Louisville, in Jefferson County, they're already pursuing something very similar to this. What they're doing is they're doing yearly inspections on rental property, and it has to be brought up to a certain standard at the landlord's expense. It doesn't matter if a tenant goes in there and absolutely destroys the place. The landlord, at their own expense, has to bring it back up to a standard, okay? Right now, we can't do that here. First of all, we don't get the type of rent per unit that they're getting up there. And we have such a lack of housing in Grayson County. I have 75 people on average within the first week apply for an apartment. Now, if it has to be in order for someone like me, and Grayson County needs more people that's willing to build houses and apartments. It has to be something that's not so arduous to us that it's unprofitable to do so. So everybody I know is good people that want to see people of Grayson County have really nice homes. The bad part of it is we also have a lot of homeless people that need super, super low income apartments. Now, if you rent it for $200, you can't afford to fix all of the things that people break. And it shouldn't be that way, but the only way to compensate the landlord to do it is to raise rent. And now you've got a homeless person because they can't pay the rent. It's a big problem, you know.
We need to take little steps and have homes that are habitable.
Yes.
Before super nice.
Right,
I mean,
I'm
you-
just
you
looking for
got-
habitable.
Because everybody won't have a super nice home.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the low income.
Yeah,
need.
it-
So we're talking about habitability.
Well-
I mean, you gotta be able to have it.
It-
You know, holes in the floor, I mean, just
The,
basic.
the problem is whenever you layer a layer of bureaucracy, and that's what you get into, once you have someone going out and inspecting homes, and it's subjective, does this home meet it, does this home meet it, you need to have this floor done here. Recently, hot water heater in Louisville, just replacing a hot water heater, okay? $3,600. So that's a regular hot water heater around here, $400 or $500 to buy it. But there's so many layers of bureaucracy that's been built on top of each other in order to replace a hot water heater, it's $3,600. So I agree I agree with you, we need those things. But if you put someone in place whose job is to inspect everybody's rental property, that they're up to a certain standard, you're gonna have a full-time position, and you're gonna have a lot of landlords bucking up against this and saying, I can't do it, I'm just not gonna rent the house. It's $200 a month. I'll go do something else. And then, you know, it is a problem. I don't think codifying what somebody should rent would be the appropriate step to fix the problem.
Thanks, Dave. Danny, you had something to say?
I was just going to say, I agree with him. I think it is, you could get in some really legal issues by cutting off people's utilities automatically. I mean, that could be a real problem, open yourself up to liability on it. My envision was more, before somebody rents a place, they have to have the right to have water or utilities,
Have access.
have access to
Yeah.
it. I mean, we shouldn't have anybody that rents a place does not have the ability to have access to water. That was my envision, not anything really like what this
But
has
in the city of
progressed to
Litchfield,
in the
they
city.
have that. When
Hopefully.
in a rental property,
But from
a
what I
house,
understand,
an apartment, a trailer, whatever, if it is a property in the city of Litchfield, is there not already water lines, whether they be city water lines, or if it's an area that's been annexed in the last few years, they would have access to county water lines, correct? So there are water lines leading to
Where you get
rental
in,
places.
where you get into
So
is the
they
difference
are
in a
there.
water line coming in and a service line going into the house. If a
But should
service
they-
line gets damaged or something like that, I can see what they're discussing.
Service
It
line,
needs to be
that,
fixed.
I
If
agree
it's
with
a sewer
a
line, if
service
it's a
line
power, you know,
damaged.
maybe a breaker paneling or something like that. Just basic access, I think, is what.
It's not just the meter base sitting in the ground, it's the running toilets, it's the non-leaking faucets, it's the shower heads that work because they have adequate water pressure and
But
things.
that's not
We
what
have-
the agenda said.
I know that I'm trying to reiterate what was meant by it, that I think I took from Gina, not from what the agenda actually states. We do have an ordinance for those items, though, that is a requirement for every property, not just whether it be a landlord tenant. Every property in the city is required to have all of those things. What we don't have is if somebody chooses not to have the water service, it's an unfit structure at that point, it's uninhabitable. We don't have anything in place to tell them that they can't live that way. I can post it as unfit, but I can't make them get out.
'Cause there has been some.
That's what we need to work on first.
Yeah, because I've just going door to door, I've ran into a couple of people that did not have water, did not have electricity. That's how they chose to live, basically, you know, in lieu of, as she said, spending their money somewhere else.
Well,
You
they'd
know,
rather have a roof over their head than water.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd rather have shelters than they had.
Do I feed my child this year, this month, or do I pay my water bill? You know, it's a time where it's a crucial time. They're having to choose, what do I pay? You know?
So I don't think,
And another issue, and I guess I just gonna be, try not to say it, but the drug issue is affecting every home here, because they'll choose their drugs. When I have a 13-year-old boy in my dumpster at 1 o'clock in the morning, one night, and the next night at 2 o'clock in the morning, I have a high school student, because the parents have chosen their drugs over their child, do you know what that makes me feel like? So I understand as a landlord, and I understand as a parent and whatever, they come down and choose. And they choose whether they have their child water or not,
Yeah.
or electric. That's the choice they make.
And it's a horrible war we're trying to fight
Yeah.
with that. That's every
So-
city. Every,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So I mean, that's
everybody's
just,
big.
you know, sometimes the parent don't make the wisest choice for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other discussion on this? Do we want to look a little further before we make any decisions? I think,
If Tyler says we have things on the books right now, that's,
yeah, I mean, that's,
But we don't,
We do have things on the book requiring adequate facilities. But
meaning utilities.
yes. And then as far as if they don't have them, then, like I said, I can deem the structure as unfit for human habitation, but all I can do is put
Who chooses it's unfit or not?
me,
so
that
you're,
definition's in there too. It's a
So you're
little bit
saying-
more broad than that, but
so you're saying if you go into a place where somebody's living that they choose not to have water turned on or power turned on or whatever, you're gonna declare that unfit for,
now, as far as the electricity, it's not a requirement. The only thing that's requirement is heat, and that's only they have to have a sufficient heat source to maintain a certain temperature and certain dates of the year. And that's in the book as well. I just
you had
don't know.
occasion to use that much? And you had occasion to,
I mean, the only time that we know that somebody doesn't have them is somebody calls in on them, which is one that I'm dealing with, that I've been dealing with for a while now, and that's because they don't have water, so they're not hooked up to a sanitary sewer source, so they choose their back door as their sewer.
yeah.
But I went myself to Tyler. I had a residential that was not livable, but I couldn't get these people out. They refused to go. They kept bringing their drug buddies in. So I went to Tyler because I knew there was books on the city of Leitchfield law that could help me. And I went to Tyler and I said, help me. What do I do now? You know, and Tyler was able, I took him and I said, look at this. And I even told him, I said, it's not habitable. It's not someone safe for someone to live. But I had a source because I went to Tyler and told him I was in need of the city to help me. And he helped me because I knew that it wasn't livable, but I couldn't get these people to go. And the only way to get these people to go was for him to say that the house was inhabitable so that the law could remove them from that place. So there is, he's not against us as landlords, and we're landlords not against you all as a city, because when I needed help, I had help. You see?
You all know all the landlords in the city and the county. I guarantee both of you do. So out of that, what's the percentage you think that don't let people, I mean, that their
Okay,
property
can
is
I
uninhabitable,
personally-
that they
I'll
rent?
give back one.
Less
Yeah.
than 2 or 3%?
I just, approximately 2 weeks ago, I had a young couple, I will not say their name, come to me. They had been living in a situation that the landlord presently would not do anything for them. They had been there 3 to 4 months without water because the landlord would not fix a water leak, okay? On that situation, they come to me and said, you have a place to live. I had a place to live, okay? So what they had went in and I had an empty home, and they're like, okay, we don't have the money to make a deposit. I said, all right, clean it up. I'll let you move on. So they've done that. But I want you to know there's water, there's electric, there's everything there, but they've been there 4 weeks without water, or they've got electric finally turned up, but they've chosen because they've had other bills to pay, because the bill that they had to pay before they got the water turned on at this resident in Leitchfield, they had to pay it first. From the, you know.
Because I think the landlords in this community that
Yeah.
have property like that is small.
Yes.
Very few.
I would say
Because word of mouth.
5%, 10% of the landlords will do that. I mean, I have a person right now that's 3 months behind on rent, so let's just be honest. If we're gonna be honest, let's just be honest with them. I've got 3 months behind. You know why they're 3 months behind? Because she's got a child that's special needs. You want me to put that child out? So I've been to the mother and I was like, you've got 30 days. I gave her my rent in 30 days. I've hand-delivered it. She signed it. She knows it. Okay? What am I supposed to do? I've left the water on. She's left up a water bill. So, you know, here it is. So as a landlord, what more do you want me to do? I'm out there $600 in rent, and ain't no telling what kind of water bill I'm gonna have, but I've chose to be as nice as I can because she's got a child that needs a place to live. So am I gonna be?
You chose to be a landlord.
Yeah, and so I've gave her 30 days. And she's like, well, why are you doing this to me? I have nowhere to go. Well, you know, at what point does it become the responsibility of the tenant?
I understand.
Yeah, so I'd say 5% in the community, in the county itself, about 5%. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of on that, so.
Okay, thanks, Pam. I think would this be reasonable to say, Tyler, that I think we've got laws on the books that deal with what we've talked about here?
Ordinances or
Or-
laws.
Or
ordinances.
they're in the ordinance, in the International Property Maintenance Code book that we adopted. That's where they're at.
So that
What'd you
we
say,
really
Tyler?
Like I
don't
said,
need
the
to
only-
take any action tonight. We've got most of it covered, do you think?
The only thing that's not in there is what do we do if people don't comply? That's where we're at.
Yeah.
So,
It's a small percentage, so we can, I mean, sure. we can
Right.
Do that.
Anyone else got any comments or questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming up, and we'll definitely keep this under consideration and see what it turns out, but we'll research a little further. For my part, I'd like to research a little further what Tyler's telling us about and get a little more education on that before we talk about anything else, so.
Me too.
Tyler and I can have a work session on brainstorming some ideas to bring back to the council.
Okay. Okay.
The situation that she has with people she's spoken to,
Yeah.
because I know that's what y'all want to do, y'all want to help everyone, that's what your job is to do, is represent the city.
Yeah.
And you represent the county too, okay, because people come, move out of the county into the city, and they need somebody that will stand up for them.
Yeah.
So that's where y'all are.
All right. If there's not any more questions or comments, we'll move on with the agenda.
And I just wanted to address, I think, you had brought up the inspection process in Jefferson County. I don't know that had ever been mentioned, and that is something I've read some articles on, but to my knowledge, I don't think that's ever been brought before a council meeting in the,
I didn't think it was, but the path that it leads to is there. If you're gonna start judging, is something habitable, well, a logical progression, it has to be expected to be habitable.
yeah.
So that train of thought leads to a position where you have something that inspects all rental property, annually at least. And that's why I brought it up, because, there's not it's a process. And that process started in the same place in Jefferson County did. They didn't get there just by saying we're going to do it today. It was a process there as well.
And I do think that would be something, with resources, it would be hard to enforce and police, so, but based on our demographics, so.
And everybody's idea of inhabitable is not the same as mine, so,
Yeah, everybody's gonna have opinions.
right. Okay. Any other visitors that want to come forward or anything? All right, we'll move on then. Next item on the agenda is declare 2006 Chevrolet Trailblazer VIN as surplus, currently being used at the animal shelter, originally purchased for IDC use. I think, Brandon may be able to tell me, I think before IDC got that, the police department had it. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor, it was.
Okay, okay.
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion by Billy, may I have a second by Clayton, all in favor? All right, thank you. Okay, second and final reading of an ordinance related to new commission board appointments, adding a question and answer section for meeting prior to appointment. So, Arlene, do you want to?
Yes, I can read that. Whereas the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky has established various boards and commissions as part of the operational structure of the city, and whereas some boards and commissions are comprised of members and/or commissioners whom are appointed by the mayor and then approved by the Leitchfield City Council, and whereas to allow the council an opportunity to learn additional information and have an opportunity to be informed on the qualifications of said appointments. A hearing procedure shall be established prior to said appointments. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Litchfield, Kentucky as follows. Prior to the appointment of a member to any board or commission of the City of Litchfield, which requires appointment by the mayor of Litchfield and approval by the city council, said recommended appointee shall appear before the city council of Litchfield at a regular scheduled or special called meeting to allow an opportunity to hold a hearing regarding the appointee. The hearing shall allow members of the city council an opportunity to examine the qualifications of the appointee, discuss with the appointee the requirements of the position, and ask questions of the appointee. This hearing requirement shall only refer to newly appointed members and commissioners. Those members or commissioners being reappointed to a new term shall not be required to attend a meeting of the city council of the city of Litchfield. Said hearing shall take place in executive session. And this is a second reading, so it'll need a motion, second, and a roll call.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Earlene?
We're in executive session.
That's, yes, last line. That was added right before the first reading.
Make a motion.
Okay. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Terry. Now we need a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. We have a couple of proclamations here that we've done. We won't necessarily take the time to read those, but they're in your packet. First was a proclamation for Daughters of the American Revolution. If you read up on those guys, they do a lot of good things in the communities nationwide, so they're a big help to the communities that they serve. I'll entertain a motion to accept that. Clayton, second. Second by Tootie. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Proclamation for Grayson County History Week. I think you guys had a meeting, Terry, I think, last Tuesday, probably? Was the Historical Society?
Yes.
Okay, and I think this was signed by Judge Henderson, and I don't know if Caneyville mayor was there or not. I know I didn't get to make it that night,
No.
but Clarkson was there, so. Basically just recognizing the service that the Historical Society does for the community. I'll entertain a motion to accept that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Terry, second by Billy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have results of Keiko Salt auction. Wes?
Yeah, this is what we get into every year for where we buy our road salt. We get in a reverse auction to where they bid and it comes down instead of the way normal prices go up. This year, the lowest price was $27.50. The other ones were fairly close, but that was the lowest one, and it'd be my recommendation to award that to Compass Minerals so we can buy salt for this next year.
Is this the prime buying time?
Well, we usually buy it every year. Last year, salt was 140 a ton. So this year it's 127.50, so it's come down some from last year.
Have a whole lot left?
Yeah, I've got quite a bit, and usually the way we do it, once we award this winter, I have till this time next year to get it. So what we got now, we'll use through the winter, and then after the first year, when snow quits, March, April, May, whatever it is, then we'll order our salt for this year, or for the next coming year, so. This just locks the price in from now until this time next year.
Okay, any questions for Wes, or? Okay. Entertain a motion to accept. Motion by Clayton, second by Gina. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, just curious, is there a lot of places to buy salt?
We usually have 3, 4 bidders that bid it, and usually Cargill's the one we got it from this last time, which all 3 of them we have bought from in the past, so they're, big companies and they're very good about it. If I call, we need 100 tons of salt, within a week they'll have it to us. So they're all pretty good to work with.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have results of the bid opening for bituminous asphalt, rock, and asphalt materials and concrete.
And what this is we have to bid every year because it's the end of the year, the budget and everything. that we advertise for bids for a blacktop or rock and all that, so our price is locked in for the year. We had one bidder for the blacktop and one for the rock, so, and you all can see in your packet that, what the prices were and everything on it. I think the rock maybe was a little bit higher this time, but asphalt was a little bit cheaper, I think, due to the crude oil coming down or something different, but that's basically what our prices will be for the next fiscal year.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by Billy, anybody have a second? Second by Clayton, all in favor? Thank you, guys. Okay, we'll move to unfinished business. Your notes say second draft of ordinance with additional requirements of building permit holders. I think this is going to be a first reading, is that right?
Well, it's a second draft. We had talked about before, and I presented it, and then we talked about, and I think the council had agreed that we were gonna change the building permits to include renovations and also, renovations and, let's see. Additions to existing structures as well. So, I do need to update the fee structure as well. It's basically in a different part of the planning and zoning. It's in Article 6. So we can go ahead and do a first reading of this, or I can come back with the fees as well. It's up to the council. Because I think what Tyler had asked the council before is he wanted to do an update on the fees, and I don't have the fee schedule complete at this time, but I have the ordinance itself updated.
Okay. Would you prefer to go ahead and have a first reading, or would you prefer to get the fees in it before we do that?
I think it would be fine to go ahead and do a first reading on this, and then I can do I know Tyler had talked about to the council about breaking it up into doing a different fee schedule for building versus renovation versus additions, and then, had wanted to change some of the fees, correct? Yeah. Okay, so we could go ahead and do a first reading on this, and then
Okay.
I'll do the fees, the first reading,
Okay.
so. All right, whereas the Leitchfield Planning and Zoning Ordinance Article 2 requires the issuance of a building permit, whereas it is appropriate to amend the ordinance to require building permit holders to do so in an orderly and clean manner, whereas said ordinance shall be amended to subdivide the general classification of permits to building permit and demolition permit, whereas such standards will protect the public health, safety, and welfare more adequately and promote the needs of the community. Now therefore be it ordained by the ordinance number 99-6 enacted on July 19th, 999, and shall be amended as follows, with deleted portions being indicated by a line drawn through them and encompassed by brackets enclosing them, with added portions being underlined. Article 2, building, zoning, demolition, permit issuance fee. Application applying to the Planning Commission and its authorized agent or inspector for a building, additions to existing structures, renovation, or zoning permit. The applicant must submit a dimension sketch or scale plan indicating lot dimensions, the shape, size, height, and location of all buildings to be erected, altered, or moved, and of any building size, height, and location of the buildings to be erected, altered, or moved, and of any buildings already on the lot or parcel. It shall be stated as to the existing and intended use of all such buildings and supplies, such as other information is required by the commission and its authorized agent or inspector for determining whether the provisions of the chapter are being observed and upheld. The county health officer certificate approving the proposed ordinance. Such facilities must accompany applications according to section 4.1-8 of this ordinance. Issuance if the proposed excavation or construction is set forth in the application or in conformity with the provisions of this chapter and other ordinances of the city then enforced, then the authorized agent or inspector shall issue a permit for such excavation. If a building permit is refused, the authorized agent or inspector shall state such refusal in writing with the cause and shall immediately thereupon mail notice of such refusal to the applicant at the address indicated on the application. Authorized agent or inspector will grant the permit within 14 calendar days from the day the application is submitted. The issuance of a permit shall in no case be construed as waiving any provision of this chapter. Duration, a building permit shall become void 6 months from the date of issuance unless substantial progress has been exercised by that date on the project described therein. Fee required. Application for a building permit shall be accompanied by a fee as required below. The fee shall be paid into the general fund of the city to be used to help defray the cost of inspections and processing of applications. Fee schedule is in Article 6. Permanent file planning commission and its authorized agent inspector shall keep a permanent file of all applications with the company plans and all permits issued. Orderly compliance, any applicant approved for a building permit shall not cause debris or rubbish to accumulate on surrounding properties, roadways, or right-of-ways, and the use of said permit violation as such can result in the revocation of the building permit.
Okay. So we don't need to take any action tonight? As a
No,
first
it
reading?
had to have a second reading.
Okay. We also got fire hydrant ordinance.
All right, I've handed out everyone, the ordinances that were actually on the books, the hard copy. There was some inconsistencies between the online version and the hard copy version that we had on the books. I think that was one of the reasons that it was adding to confusion. We do have two very similar ordinances on the books now, one that was approved in 1976, the other in 77. I think it's a good idea to repeal one of those and just have one ordinance in effect. I think it could help clarify. So what I've done is I've took the 76 amendment and after being provided some information from council and mayor, constructed the proposed amendments. We can either treat this as a first draft, or we can go ahead and do a first reading. I'll get feedback from what the council wants to do tonight. And then I went ahead and drafted an ordinance repealing the 1977 ordinance. So, and there are quite a few changes, so if council wants to address any of those or ask any questions. And I know Tim's here too, if he wants to answer any questions.
Okay. Would you guys like some time to read over this and study on it before we have a reading up for it, or you feel like?
I think her proposed ordinance basically just codifies what we're doing now. Utilities are doing the internal workings of the fire hydrants. Tim's doing the external workings of the fire painting, and basically it's what we're doing now, and that's what the proposed ordinance does.
Yeah.
You don't plan
Well, take care of the
Yeah.
outside
Well, and I think that the way that I was provided in,
test.
yeah, and
I-
and that's how I broke it up, basically. And I'll read it if we want to do a first reading. I broke it up. Fire department does testing, utilities maintains internal, and then the city outsources the external upkeep. So,
That's what's been done in the recent past, I know, so. And we are in the process of getting some of those painted, the tops of them, to match their output. Tim's looked at the paint. I think he's already got a company that we can get the paint from. And,
I thought Tim wanted to paint them. That was my understanding. Is that right, not right, Tim? Didn't you want to paint them?
yeah, quick.
I'm with you.
So we want to go ahead and do a first reading, you guys think? Is that okay? Okay, Earlene.
summary of an ordinance amending an ordinance relating to fire hydrants. Whereas the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky has previously adopted an ordinance setting forth regulations for installation, testing, and maintenance of fire hydrants within the city of Leitchfield. And whereas, in order to update the assignment of duties of fire hydrant installation, testing, and maintenance, the current ordinance shall be amended. Now therefore be it ordained by the city of Litchfield, Kentucky, that ordinance minute, these are very old, so that's why there's a change. Minute number 10, page 161-A of Book 1 of the Litchfield City Ordinances, passed on May 17th, 1976, be amended as follows, with added portions being underlined and deleted portions being indicated by a line drawn through them and encompassed by brackets enclosing them. Number 1, duties and responsibilities of the Utilities Commission. It shall be the duty and responsibility of the Utilities Commission of the City of Litchfield, its agents and employees, to internally maintain fire hydrants for the use of the Department of the City of Litchfield, including but not limited to installing, maintaining the internal mechanisms of the hydrants, and servicing the hydrants. Testing of hydrants. Each hydrant owned and maintained by the city shall be flow tested by the Litchfield Fire Department every second April and October, and inspected each April and October of the year pursuant to standards generally accepted, and a report of the results of such tests shall be recorded and kept as part of the records held by the Leitchfield Fire Department. The results shall be submitted to the City Utility Commission for any required internal maintenance. Inventory of hydrants. The hydrants belonging to the city shall be numbered with a number plainly visible, and a list of hydrants, their location and number shall be annually submitted to the fire chief. Section 4 was deleted with a new section inserted. The general fund of the city shall not be charged with any fees for any fire or water hydrant which is a part of the city water transmission system, with the exception of outsourced labor and supplies required for external maintenance. The utility commissions of the city of Leitchfield shall have authority to require by regulation that developers of subdivisions within the city service area install water transmission lines according to the commission's specifications, and may require the installation of acceptable fire hydrants. All previous ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. External maintenance. The external appearance of the fire hydrants owned by the city of Leitchfield shall be maintained by the city. Required external maintenance shall be outsourced for repairs needed. Neither the fire department or the utilities commission of the city of Leitchfield shall be specifically designated the duty to maintain the external appearance of the fire hydrants owned by the city of Leitchfield.
Okay. Any questions about the first reading of that ordinance? Okay.
All right, and then we can go ahead and vote on this tonight. The second reading would be repealing the 77 ordinance. Be it ordained by the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky, that ordinance minute number 10, page 182 of the Leitchfield Ordinance Book number 1, passed on February 24th, 1977, be repealed in its entirety, effective immediately. Said ordinance being related to fire hydrants installation, repair, and maintenance.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to accept that. Clayton, second by Gina. All in favor?
I actually need to do a roll call because we're repealing
Do
an
roll call,
ordinance.
okay.
Yeah.
Denny?
Aye.
Gina?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, I'm guessing we're going to call on Tyler, speak about code enforcement amended ordinance for condemned properties.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, no, this is discussion on the, what to do about any,
Oh, on the
Yeah.
this is kind of what we was talking about
Yeah.
earlier. Okay, so whenever we have an unfit structure, we can post that property as unfit. If it's vacant, it's usually not a big deal, but if there's people going in and squatting or whatever, we don't have anything in the ordinance that allows us to do anything to those people. There's no criminal trespassing, there's nothing that the county attorney can do, there's nothing that the LPD can do. It's the same situation I was talking about with a resident not having water turned on. We can say that property is unfit, but we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So,
And I think one of the issues you run into, you could create an ordinance that cites them for a violation, but I think you're probably dealing with low-income homeless individuals. And I don't know that you always have compliance with the procedures of, like, if we cite them a fine, I don't know how successful that's gonna be to get that fine paid. To me, I mean, I've practiced criminal law in the past. I think it would meet the definition for trespass, at least on one of the degrees. So I know we had spoken to Stacy Whitley, who had worked for the county attorney, but I don't care to have a conversation with the county attorney to see what we can find, if there's a criminal action, it fits into more precisely. But I just think that,
Do you have to warn them trespassing, and then after you warn them, you can?
no, there's not a warning requirement. I think most police do. We'll do some kind of warning, but there's not a requirement on the books or anything that you have to do
But the
that.
owner has to do the trespassing and go through the police department to.
Well, no, not necessarily. Some people get charged with trespass that's, there's not a, like a landlord or a property owner has filed a complaint, sometimes the city police will take those charges out themselves and file
But I thought it had to go to the landlords to have it. They have to trespass. We can't trespass them because it's private property. But you all can trespass them and then pass it on to David or Brandon or whatever to do the legal.
well, that would be an eviction process, so it wouldn't necessarily be a trespasser, it would be a holdover tenant, and it would be an eviction
Well, it would
process.
only be trespassing if they were going, not renting it.
Yeah.
I mean, just going in there
And squatting,
and, yeah.
That's what he's
Yeah.
talking about.
yeah.
And
Well,
This isn't just in those, I mean, this is any vacant structure, you know, not necessarily a rental property. You know,
Yeah,
we've got one right over here on White Street that's been vacant for
yeah,
2
this
years.
is, this issue we're talking about is more like vacant properties that is on the list to have petitions to be condemned.
Yeah.
We have basically like squatters or people that, you know, that's the issue, and,
But you gotta go through the landlord to make sure they are squatters.
If there's no landlord
yeah,
though,
sometimes there are those limbo gray areas where it's been tied up into.
Whoever owns the property.
well, in this scenario, the guy that owned the property up until about a week ago was in jail for the past 2 years and looked at another 4 before he got out. Property's been boarded up, been posted unfit, and they tore a hole through the sheeting in the back of the
So
house.
is he paying property tax on it?
I'm sure he's not,
I'm sure it's being.
which it's done changed hands now and it's being taken care of, but that's a property that we've been sitting on for 2 years because the guy that outright owned the property was in prison and didn't have a way to take care of his violations. But we also know there was people in there unlawfully, but we couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. I don't think legally, like, we can't do an eviction process. We can cite them for a violation and charge them a fee, but that's really
Right.
all we can do. And I don't think it would be really successful to collect those fees and fines. So I can talk to the county attorney about trespass, you know, charges or some other type of criminal statute to fall under.
That's what we're looking at right now.
You have to go through that.
Squatters has rights in the United States of America from coast to coast, north to south.
And then you have to go through an eviction process. And then we,
And that's where we run
Yeah.
into it.
But
If I have an empty home and they move in and they said that's where they live at, they're considered a squatter, and squatters have more right than the property owner in the United States of America.
But as of right
North,
now,
north to south, east to west. The United States protects the squatter. When they move in and they say they live there and you're the property owner and they want to squat there, there's nothing you can do about it. You can evict them and remove them and no trespassing, but all they gotta do is throw squatter's rights at you and you can be in trouble even if you own the property.
well, it's,
I mean, it's one of them areas that you're gonna have to,
I think,
I dealt with that one before.
but we're not the property owner, so we don't have standing to file any type of eviction
Right.
proceedings or anything. So I think from a legal standpoint, I think all we can do is cite them for violation. I don't think we're gonna collect it, so.
From my understanding of how trespass is handled, if there is a sign that shows intent of the owner, so if there's a trespass sign,
Mhm.
then that would give an officer the ability to trespass from a location. But from my understanding, they have to have some owner's permission or owner's knowledge that that person isn't supposed to be there. Otherwise, you can trespass anybody anytime.
Right.
What she's saying is 100%, once they establish a residency, and what actually conducts establishing that as your residence, that is a gray area, it's a civil matter, and it's very sticky. So,
I just think we're in a position, I just don't.
Even if the trespassing signs up?
from my understanding, if he wanted to trespass somebody, and the owner has placed trespassing signs up there, he's gave notice that the property's not to be trespassed. Now, at that point, if somebody was to if Randy come out there, the signs go trespass, he's got reasonable knowledge to believe
that help bring?
As far as the trespassing goes, there's different degrees of trespassing, from third degree to first degree. Third degree would be basically reasonable knowledge that you shouldn't be there. Second degree would be like if it's posted or if they've been told. And a lot of times property owners of businesses or different properties would ask us to trespass warn somebody. And usually when we do that, we trespass warn that person from that property and we log it with dispatch. That way it is documented. That way if we have to deal with that particular subject at that place again, then we would have grounds if need be to go with criminal charges.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think a lot of the properties that we deal with code enforcement, you have property owners that are not maintaining, and so we don't have, the house is properly boarded up, we don't have no trespassing signs, we don't have those type of things with code enforcement, so. So, Tyler and I go to a training class on Wednesday, was it Wednesday? Yeah. I mean, that's a question we can pose to whoever's there, see if they have a solution other cities are doing, but I just don't see a solution to it now other than just doing a fine schedule. I just don't think anybody would pay on it, so.
Any other questions concerning that amendment? Okay. Let's move on to property at 1150 Elizabethtown Road. Earlene, you want to?
Yes, I wanted to give everyone an update. The RMI lawsuit, which was dismissed through summary judgment through our local circuit court. I had spoken at the previous meeting and said that there was a 30-day appeal window. That appeal window ran last week, and there was an appeal filed on the 14th. So what that means is there's now a Court of Appeals action. It will be assigned to a 3-judge panel, and the appeals process will start. There's certain filing requirements that will have to be met. There is a procedure, which is basically a mediation on the offset, like a pre-hearing conference mediation, that the Court of Appeals will do at the front of the case. Those can be beneficial to see where both sides are at that point. There will then, if that's not successful, there will be a briefing schedule. There could be various motions filed, but usually there will be a briefing schedule. It's basically a lot of paperwork. There could be oral arguments that are ordered that the city could attend. But I have received the email from our attorney, Jeff Mando, but I haven't spoken out to him specifically about where he stands on the likelihood of the appeal. So I'll reach out to him and report to the next meeting of what he thinks regarding the appeal.
Did you say an appeal was filed?
Yes, a notice of appeal. It was filed on the 14th.
And that's with the question of whether we want to purchase the property or not. I wanted you guys to know that before we went any further with it. So that's the reason I asked Earlene to, I got the email Friday. I'm not sure when Earlene got it, but.
Yes,
So-
I did.
Arlene, if it proceeds to oral arguments, you'll notify us of the time
Yes.
and date prior to the oral arguments?
Yes, I will. I will,
It'd
and
be worth the
that'll be
trip for a lot of people
sometime.
to go up there for that. It's open to the public, so it'd be a good thing to,
It is,
have
and they're neat. They're
attendance.
very neat to see. I've got to argue one case at Court of Appeal, so they're neat. But and I'll fill you in along the way of the proceedings, and it's just at the early stages now. There will be a pre-hearing statement that's due within 20 days, so when I get a copy of that, I can provide it to everybody.
Okay. So with that knowledge, I'd like for us to move forward with deciding whether we want to be a part of purchasing this property with the county or not. We can do that tonight. We can hold it over to the next meeting. County has already made the purchase. I know they have gotten permission from the gentleman that owns the stockyard property to cross him to get sewer to it. I know they've also had a private individual that is going to donate dirt and rock and stuff to get the property up to grade. So what the county needs from us, I guess, is a yay or a nay on it. So is that something we want to look at tonight? You guys want another couple of weeks to study on it? Tell me how you want to proceed. I'm fine either way.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Since they've already purchased it, if we proceed and we agree to do it, would the deed be redone and reflect that we would be co-owners?
Yes.
Our name
Yes.
would be on the deed as well?
Yes.
There would be an accompanying contract laying out the ownership requirements and how it would be, the duties divided and so forth. But yes, there would be a deed as well reflecting a joint ownership.
And Kevin and I talked too about, I know there was some question about who would keep it clean and keep it upbeat. I think mostly the inmate crews would do that. I think that's what he's intending. Mowing, we haven't talked about that yet. It needs mowing now. I'm assuming probably the city, the people that mow for the city would probably mow it. I'm not sure if Kevin's talked to anyone with tourism yet or not. He would like to see tourism because there'll be opportunity to rent it outside of Wednesday, Saturday. So I think he would like to see if tourism, or maybe the girls down that do the farmer's market normally might want to be a part of that. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him for a few days. He's out of town for the next couple of weeks, so.
And the council will do a second vote to approve the deed and contract and give authorization to sign. So a lot of times on these purchases, you'll do like a two vote, where you do a vote to say, yes, city's gonna buy it for set price, contingent on approval of a deed and contract.
And there's no legal conflict with us being a part of this, considering since the county's bought it, that alleviates
Yeah.
that.
There's no ethical or
Okay.
violation.
Okay.
I make a motion contingent to what? We'll go ahead then.
I was going to say the contract will specify like utilities. The contract will also specify like income, because if they're going to run it, we should expect some income to cover the cost of it.
How
And,
much is the cost of it?
The property,
Anybody got a cost analysis on what the building, what the concrete, what the
Parking lot?
restrooms? Are we just going blind
250,000.
for a building?
No, that's our half. It's our quarter.
yeah. And
The
there's,
state will match up to $250,000. So my idea is that we need a $250,000 project with the city and county funding the $250,000, which would be half for us and half for the county. And the state would fund the other $250,000.
That is for the grant is for the structure alone, correct? The grant reimburses for up to $250,000 of the structure.
right, no, not the property.
So
You said
does
structure
that-
150.
250.
So does that 250 also include all aspects of that structure, including all electrical, all plumbing, the concrete floor, the bathrooms? That includes every single aspect of that structure?
That was my understanding, but I don't have that in writing from the state.
And then I don't know anything about blacktopping, so I know that the last time this was discussed, somebody threw out a figure, and it could have just been figuratively, I don't know. When it was talked about of blacktopping the area outside around the structure, pavilion, whatever it is, somebody threw out a figure of like $2 million. Does it seriously cost $2 million to blacktop something like that?
No,
No,
I wouldn't
that
think
was,
so.
that was total price.
That's the total project to me.
so a total project price, does that still add up to $2 million?
It would surprise me if it was that much. I mean, we're talking about a three-sided structure, basically what we've got over here at the city park. Concrete, three-sided structure with restrooms on one end, of course, blacktop. And I think there will be room for, if there's overflow,
Pop-up tents.
yeah, that they could use their pop-up tents. We've been sent a few pictures of some from from Warren Beeler, who worked in the ag department for the state, some examples, and I can forward them on to you guys. I noticed they had built their first one, looked like, you know, in the line here, but then I guess they got big enough that they kind of held off with another part of it eventually. It doesn't look like it was all done at the same time. A lot of the work, a lot of the concrete work, I think, and everything will be done by city and county, everything that we can do to save on the cost. Outside of that, it's just hard to say. Concrete right now is extremely costly. It may be the costliest part of the project, very well may be.
So can you give some type of ballpark figure estimate? If it's not gonna be 2 million, would it be 1 million?
Can we get that from, I mean, I'm assuming Kevin and you had talked about a design or somewhat.
We have a little bit, like I
If we
said, that's why we got some examples from Warren and, you know, something to go
But
by.
I think Kevin has the construction background.
Right.
And I think if he could give us some sort of bid, estimate, something, break it down for us so that we know total project, because I hate to commit $250,000 to a $2 million project and then we don't have the funds to finish it.
Do we have to hire an architect? Do we have to
Exactly, do we have to
tax
go to?
money?
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly. I'd like to see everything in writing of what it's gonna cost before I vote to approve something
Right.
like this.
I think that's what we're looking for, Harold, is
Yeah.
just something broken down, and then, I know I've seen the pictures, and just an idea of which route you're going, because there were about 8 different options that.
Yeah. Some of them are pretty
pictures floated.
fancy.
Some of them
I
are
can't
pretty
envision
fancy,
us
but
building anything that fancy, but
If we're gonna proceed, I think there needs to be a model, or
Project
a
plan.
project plan of cost before we can jump in and say yes. Because
Okay.
again, I think it's just where he is.
I'll talk to Kevin when he gets back and see if he can, like I say, you said he's got a construction background, I don't, so
Right. But
it would,
I-
any number I would give would be a bad guess,
But
so,
I think he probably in his head has an idea of what.
yeah.
But we still need to find out if it
Yeah,
has
I
to
want
be
it,
an
I want it in
architect.
his head.
I know,
want
I do too, but that's what I'm saying, break it down into like a bid and tell me concrete, blacktop, electricity. I mean, just like if I was bidding a house, which he is well qualified for.
Yeah.
Break it down and tell me so I can look at that before I agree to anything.
Okay.
Is there any thoughts of doing this in phases even?
Well, I don't know, I think if you did it in phases, you obviously do the grade work first. Probably then the concrete work, then the construction of the building, the shelter part. I'd say it would be possible to have rock there for a drive at first, not to necessarily blacktop it, as soon as you start the project. I'm sure you could do it in phases. Again, I'm not a construction guy, so I'm not a good one to ask,
the
but
state handing their money out in faith.
Yes, sir, say, would you agree?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
it's at one time.
It's a
Yes.
one-time thing, so
Yeah.
I just.
But that would be just for the structure.
yeah.
I mean, we could build the structure in the gravel and maybe down the road do the
Blacktop.
blacktop.
Yeah. That would be possible for sure. Again, some of it may depend on what Kevin and the county has got in mind.
Right.
I know they're gonna do it, whether we go in with them or not. Kevin has said that, so. But we can try to get some of that information from him. Like I say, he's gone 2 weeks, I think, right?
Montana.
Yeah, he's in
He's building my
Montana.
house,
He's
so
a
I know
Big
this.
sky country. So Earlene's wanting him to come build a house, but he
Yeah.
didn't want that.
To get back.
So we'll table that for now if everybody's okay with that. We had a motion from Clayton, but I expect that motion probably would die right now for lack of a second, so we'll table this. I'll try to get some information from Kevin, maybe get him to price it just like he would maybe bidding a house or something, and So if everybody's good with that, we'll table that and try to get some more information and bring it back next meeting. Okay, unfinished business. Billy, do you have anything else?
No,
that's
sir.
not- Terry?
No.
Judy?
No, sir.
Clayton?
No.
Gene? Dan? Early, do you have any unfinished?
No.
Wes?
I don't know if this is unfinished or would it be new on the garbage can list or letter that I got.
Probably new, but,
Okay. Oh, I'm good.
all right. Brandon?
No, sir.
You got any? Tyler?
Sir.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to new business. We've got 2 petitions from code enforcement.
And I
The
actually
councilwoman.
told Lori wrong, it's one petition, and everybody should have a copy of it, and I can let Tyler talk about it. I know some of you are new to the code enforcement procedure, but basically, it's similar to how they zoning send us a recommendation, and we have to take a vote whether or not to approve the finding of facts and order to condemn, so.
All right. This call is coming on for hearing before the Leitchfield Code Enforcement Board after examining the petition to condemn attached and marked as Attachment A, and considering the recommendation of the Code Enforcement Officer, the City of Leitchfield makes the following findings of fact, conclusions, and order. A hearing was held before the Leitchfield Code Enforcement Board on June 13th, 2023, on the real property located at 110 Marion Street, Leitchfield, Kentucky, 42754, property owner Adam Fleener. Mr. Fleener received notice of the petition to condemn by way of certified mail on December 12th, 2022. The Code Enforcement Board decided to table a petition at the December 13th, 2022 meeting due to information that Mr. Fleener shared was going to repair the property and provide a plan to the board for the repairs. Code Enforcement Officer Tyler Harrell had also sent the petition with a letter on October 2022. The issue was reviewed at the March 14th, 2023 meeting and was passed to the meeting held on June 13th, 2023. A reminder letter was sent to Mr. Fleener on May 30th, 2023 of the hearing attached and marked Attachment B. Mr. Fleener did not attend the meeting on June 13th, 2023. Based on the information provided to the board, he hadn't contacted the Code Enforcement Officer recently or submitted any plans of action concerning the property. The report of the Code Enforcement Officer is attached and marked as Attachment C. The Code Enforcement Board unanimously approved to recommend to the Litchfield City Council that the property be condemned. Conclusions in order. The property located at 110 Marion Street, Litchfield, Kentucky, 42754 shall be condemned pursuant to the City of Litchfield ordinances 2011-09, 2014-21, 2021-13, and 2021-16 regarding unsafe structures by vote and approval of the City of Litchfield City Council. An order for demolition shall follow, and demolition of the property shall begin 45 days after the final order is released. Any abatement cost associated in the demolition process shall be assessed and applied as a lien against the real property.
Okay. I think most of you are aware of where this is. Maybe question for Tyler. For action.
Tyler, did you ever get a response from any at all from Mr. Fleener, from any?
He had contacted me after the first initial contact that went out to him. And then his dad contacted me on 3 other occasions, asking questions about what they can or can't do with the property and some things like that, but no plan was ever submitted to me or anybody on the board as to what they want to do with the property.
Did you hear from him anymore after the letter was sent out notifying about the hearing?
No.
Any other questions? Do you have a second one, Tyler, that you want to?
We'll actually need to take a motion and a second to approve the findings and recommendations submitted from the code board on that one.
Motion by Clayton, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tootie, all in favor? Any opposed?
And then on the second one, it doesn't need approval of council, but it was voted on from the code enforcement meeting. I think Tyler just wanted to share that with you. And you should have a copy of it in your packets.
This property is located at 307 Mill Street. This property has moderate fire damage to the structure, junk and rubbish scattered throughout the property, tall grass and weeds. You can see pictures in the report. I have been in contact with the owner on this property on about 3 separate occasions, and they have made a lot of improvements to the property, but it was still decided that an abatement requirement be sent out, that they have X amount of days to get this property completed, or it will come back before the board. Did
Yes.
they determine those amount of days at the meeting?
Right. I think
Okay.
we'll have to do discussion.
All right, I'll get that in the works, and then I'll notify everybody on the time frame.
But there's no action to council. I think, we only have 4 quarterly meetings, I think. So any action taken, we just wanted to keep council informed.
Okay, then I don't know if the microphones are not working well, or I'm just really straining
I'm probably just
tonight.
lost my voice
I
almost. I
missed
need-
whatever, that last part that you and
Yeah.
Tyler were talking about. The last thing I heard from Tyler was an abatement, and then you said something to him. So what's actually gonna be
Okay,
done with the
so-
property?
The code enforcement board voted to send an abatement order to the property owner, and it gives them a specified time frame to have it completed. I wasn't at the meeting, so I didn't know if they had set that time frame, but they had not. So they're leaving it up to me, and I'll get that done, and I'll send that out by the end of the week.
Perfect. Thank you. Am I the only one struggling hearing
No, I
tonight?
ain't.
Okay, makes me feel better.
Sorry.
I'm trying to read lips mostly.
I'm like, my ears are really straining trying to look at this.
The sound's going out that way, not coming back
Yeah.
this way.
So we don't need to take any action on this right now?
No, I think Tyler just wanted to keep you informed of what we've been doing with code
Okay.
enforcement.
Okay. We've discussed the second one there, landlords provide water and their tenants. Next one on the agenda is discussion and request for consideration of ordinance for owners to be responsible for their pets and their animal waste.
That's, Mayor, that's my request, and basically I was approached by a resident who lives close to an area where the Amish park their horses, and because of that, they have the horse waste, and they can't join the property, and that they have smells, and they have a daycare, and the kids can't go outside. So I started researching on that, and apparently it's a problem with the Amish related to, my idea was a simple solution, just have a catch like you do for carriages, but that's not going to, that's apparently different in the religious belief, so that wouldn't be considered. So it's extremely common for most cities to have ordinance that relates that owners are responsible for their animals' waste. And generally go about it either, and some cities have just did it for city property. Typically, it's done for public and even on private property, for owners of animals to be responsible for their animals' waste. So this is something extremely common. Basically, it's just like a speeding ticket type situation where the fines have run from as little as $50 up to a maximum of $500, with generally progression for second, third offenses. So that's where it's coming from. I talked with the chief about it, and he's had some other issues, people related to other pets on property. So it's just basically requesting that animal owners be considerate of other citizens. But this is not anything unusual. This is pretty common for most.
So there's no way for them to be exempt.
I don't see how, no. Because other
Because I know
cities
the
have done
county
it.
Went this route with the issue of the same thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, when we talked about public and private, two different things, because I knew he couldn't get nothing done with a road,
Right,
with a roadway.
yeah.
So who would enforce this?
The city police would have to enforce it. So if you have an issue, they would have to call, the city would give them like a ticket. And Brandon's pretty
Okay,
excited about that.
So, like, this ordinance is really broad because it's including pets and animals.
Most,
So,
All pets and everything.
So if my dog poops in your yard.
exactly,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
here's-
call
here's the
David
deal.
Riley and say,
Gina goes-
Gina's dog went in my yard.
Yes.
No,
You're gonna have more cats.
exactly.
yeah. But I don't think people's gonna call as much as far as cats as they will. You don't
Maybe,
think?
maybe we can, you know, we had a similar discussion when they started using the parking lot out here on Saturdays for the farmer market. And they, of course, they signed something that says they will clean up their waste before they leave the property. And they have for the most part, I guess. I haven't seen anything
So
out of the way.
we're wanting to make something for private property.
The ordinance has been provided for
Private
private property, but there are also, some just says public property. So public property would be, I guess, Walmart,
Probably not,
No, that's private.
no.
well,
Public property would be anything we own.
well, that's city property. But public property would be access available to the public, correct? Walmart would not be, I would assume
Wouldn't be
Walmart would be
privately
accessible
owned.
to the public.
Be my definition.
I would think
Are
anything
you wanting-
privately owned is,
Are you wanting to include private, like residential as well then?
Some did, some did
Yeah.
not. Some just said public property.
yeah, every residence would be private property, correct?
Well-
Clear on residents.
Yeah, you're inviting the public in to,
True.
yeah.
But if you're closed, it reverts back to private property, right? Without the public being involved.
You'd
Well,
have to go through some steps, I would think, for that,
yeah. I
like
mean,
petition.
Yeah.
I think most of what we're talking about probably is parking lots of shopping facilities, right? So, you know, that, before we enact an ordinance, that may be something we want to talk to the management of those stores about and ask them if they would address it with them, maybe. I don't know, I'm not sure what to do in a case like this. Like you said before, they've gone through it with the county, they didn't have much success with it, so.
So has anybody had a conversation with them?
I have a question.
They have,
Who have y'all talked to of the Amish community? Have you talked to the bishop, or you just talked to the individuals of the Amish? Or have you talked to each community has a leader, either a bishop or an elder. Is this something that y'all have approached them and talked to them about? I mean,
Other than here at City Hall and that.
I didn't know, because I didn't know if that has been, asked, hey, what is your beliefs on that? Have you talked to the leader of that community
Yeah,
to see, okay, tell us why you would or why you can't?
yeah.
Be-
The only
I know
experience.
there's sometimes they will let it if it causes an issue, like a fine or something. I mean, you might address it that way with them, but you would need someone that would know them to go into the community. Because you've got the Sadler community, you've got the Evely bunch. I mean, what it is, you have them in districts, okay? And their district they have a leader in that district. So the group at the Sadler may not have the same issue as the group at Evely. You see what I'm saying? So in their district, you would have to talk to their leader and see if they would be willing to do that. Put the SAC.
Yeah, the only instance that
Yeah.
I'm personally aware of is with farmer's market here. They have to apply to be a part of that farmer's market, so they address that. The girls at the SCS address that with them, that they have to keep that, same as they would on their property when they were using it. So as far as talking to group leaders is the whole thing, I don't know if we've gotten that far yet, so.
Something you
think-
could do is just do city property, if you wanted to start out with just city property, and then you could do some research into expanding in other areas. I mean, and kind of use that as a forefront to see how it goes.
And our contract with them did include,
Yes, yeah, the contract
waste,
included that
animal
had to be
waste,
cleaned
yeah.
up, yeah.
so.
the person I talked to did talk to him about it and hadn't helped.
Hadn't helped
They even provided a shovel was stolen, so it's not been a good experience, but
Yeah.
what I'm asking or talking about is something that is not unusual. In fact, this is more the majority situation of towns versus the minority situation. But
Arlene, would you like to look into that and see what other
Yeah, I
cities
can
can do?
pull, I
and-
can pull some ordinances from, that's usually where I start when I draft anyway. And I can, bring back or email out the ordinances from similar sized cities and.
Okay. That would be good if we could table it. Arlene can do a little research into it, and we can go from there, I guess. And just be a hard thing, I think, to track. I'm sure it's not just one group every time. It's probably different ones. So that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next item is request for changing speed limit on McDonald Road.
that's my request again. It's currently 35, and I'm requesting to lower it to 25. One of the, there's probably about 10 houses in the city limits and about another 20-plus houses outside the city limits roughly on that road. Currently 35. One of the residents brought it to my attention that they wanted it. He almost got hit by a car. And I've talked to about everybody but maybe one that's inside the city. And one of the other people said they tried this before a few years ago. They had a problem with it. I talked to Wes about it, and I don't think Wes has too big a concern about it. But kind of the ideal is if we limit it to 25, maybe they'll actually drive 35 because they're not currently driving 35.
Usually one of them's the first one to get a ticket
Well,
when you change it.
I said something to Chief about it, and he had somebody stationed out there, and the person almost got hit, said he thought that had made a difference even. He thought they'd slowed down once they seen city police presence out there. But what'll happen is in a month from now, it'll probably change. It's not really fair to ask the police to sit out there all the time, so that's,
I mean, I don't care to change it.
Yeah, would we need a motion and?
What do we need?
Yeah, motion and
What is it,
second.
anything
All I
statewide?
do is change the sign.
I can help.
So I entertain a motion to change that. If
So moved.
Billy, is that second by Tootie, all in favor? All right, thank you. Request for department heads to consider providing a 5-year plan for their departments.
That was mine again,
Yeah.
if you want.
Well, I think Lori and I and Sabrina have talked too, once we get the new fiscal year started, to have meeting with the department heads, look at coming up with a 5-year, maybe even a 10-year plan to identify the things that we'd like to have, that we'd like to see going on in the city. So that's something I think,
I think you try 5 years and then go,
Yeah.
later go 10.
yeah, 5 years is the place to start, and
I saw that in the budget committee. Thought it'd be a good idea if we know what the departments are looking at for as personnel, equipment, and
Yeah.
facilities. That way, like Tim's situation, a month ago, we find out we need to spend a lot of money.
yeah.
And maybe something, if we know this is gonna be a problem that we're gonna have to do within 5 years, maybe we can kind of plan for a little bit better than
Yeah.
wait until the last minute, but.
Yeah, I agree, and we need goals, and we need to be able to rank those goals as to, how they rank on our list of the things we want to do, so. Do we need to do anything with this, Arlene? other
Well,
than
if you wanted
discuss
to,
it?
you could, I think that is a change, the mayor, can make internally of how, the city's managed. So, if it sounds like you have a supported council, so you could implement that.
Okay. And when we have these meetings with department heads, any of you guys are welcome to attend and express your desires for what you'd like to see. I don't think we'll have a situation where we'll have any secrets. It'll mostly be,
And if there is
Plan.
quorum, we'd have to post it as a special call meeting.
okay.
So.
Okay. All right, the next one, Lori asked me to talk to you guys on this side of the table. Personnel committee meeting on the pay scale that we looked at before. She said if you could, get here 4:30 before the next scheduled, council meeting. So, what would be the easiest time for everybody to make it?
Wouldn't matter to me.
Okay. Okay. Would 4 be all right with everybody? That way we'll have plenty of time to
I would
discuss it.
rather start at 4 and get
Okay.
finished prior to 6 than pushing right
Right,
into 6
yeah.
o'clock.
So let's plan on else to get 4 before our next regularly scheduled council meeting. Okay, new business. Billy, do you have any new business?
Let's see, give me a little insight on the transfer station and what's been going on over there.
Well, we're in a little bit better shape now. We've got everything inside the building. Trucks are running just about every day like they should. And we're just getting a little better shape. I mean, we're still backing up a little because we're taking in more than we're getting rid of. But, luckily today we had rain, it slowed everything down. They started hauling in some type of building from Rough River and a tractor trailer dump bed today. So we had 2 or 3 loads of that, so that's gonna start backing us up a little bit more again, but right now, we're maintaining pretty fair.
So is your new transfer station priority like it was?
I know more in a couple of weeks, we'll see how, after we've got what we had down to manageable size, then we'll see how we start backing up. So there's a possibility that may not be as top priority as it were, but as long as they keep the trucks rolling, and when they down, we're really fair right now. So a couple more weeks, I should know a little bit better on if we're backing up more than they can haul in days now.
And they have a little better understanding too at Ohio County
Yeah.
about the needs.
Yeah.
Good deal. That's all I have, Mary.
Thanks, Billy. Terry?
I'm good.
Tootie?
I'm good, thank you.
Clayton?
An issue's been brought up on the speed limit on the Cape Mill Road.
Came up court.
Traffic circling there and just some people over there, would like to have the speed limit brought down in the court, to 15 miles an hour.
Would that be an issue with you, Wes, to
What is it now?
it's 25? That's a pretty, 20
Can I say something?
Yeah.
That is where I live.
yeah.
15 is really, really slow. Considering we're going up a hill, I mean, Cave Mill Court is nothing but hills. We have hills over here, we have hills over here. Entering the court and exiting the court is not where the excessive speeding occurs. It's on the 2 side, the 2 long stretches. I would be opposed to lowering that to 15 miles per hour. And I don't know if I can even vote on that since it is personal.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a conflict.
I voted McDonald Road.
What?
I just voted McDonald Road.
I voted for you. You were 25, right.
You tell me how to vote on this and I'll vote.
But the two stretches, you couldn't limit it to, say, 15 on the 25 on the 2 stretches.
Clayton, I couldn't get up the hill backing out of my driveway to go up the hill at 15 miles per hour. No.
And we do have 20-mile-an-hour signs too.
Oh, there, split the difference. There we go.
Yeah, we do.
You got
We do them all.
22 and a half.
Compromise right there.
I mean, just like with what Denny said, if we lower McDonald Road to 25, maybe they'll slow down to 35. I don't have an issue with the 25. If it even is 25, it may even be lower than that in my neighborhood. I don't know. I don't speed because I can't speed because I don't know what's on the other side of that hill. I don't know if there's kids riding their bikes or what. So when you lower it 10, your goal is going to be to, maybe they'll actually go whatever it was posted before. But no, I will not vote for 15 miles per hour in Cave Mill Court.
Any other thoughts on that? Anybody else?
Is it 25 now? Is that what it is?
It wouldn't be over 25. We have it posted right in the beginning.
Is there a sign on it?
Not far after you turn in the subdivision.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time making 25 on that circle, on them curves down there at
Yeah,
the
I
bottom
mean-
of it. I think you'd have to drift around those curves at 25. We can, if there's no other comments about that, maybe we can start with maybe a little, Brandon, you think maybe a little more police presence in that area?
Specific time of day that it's a problem, or is it just?
I've not been aware of any specific time. Clayton, have you?
Off and on.
Yeah.
I can request some extra patrols from all shifts.
Maybe just making them,
I'll have to log it.
have them make an appearance and maybe that'll slow people down a little bit.
Because I've been out there and nearly got run over, just driving around the circle, and I don't drive over 10 or 15 mile an hour.
I do think that if we have two different speed limits there, it's an enforcement issue, I believe, because, if you get them on radar, you're gonna have to be able to show exactly where you got them in
Yeah.
that area, whether it was the 15 or the 25 zone.
Yeah.
I think that would be problematic. But I will definitely, request extra patrol from all shifts.
Okay. And then if you,
It is posted as 25.
yeah.
What's Hilltop posted? I think it's 25.
I think so.
And if you could pass along, Brendan, if you guys start seeing issues out there and you think it's an issue, we can bring it back and, you know, if you're having some issues, let us know and we can revisit it at a later time.
25-mile-an-hour sign just across the road from your house.
So that's what I say, is 25 there, and, I've ever seen about 3 people out there drive 25. They're either running 35 or 40 and almost ending up and out in Kansas yard, or running 10, 15 mile an hour.
Mike, did you want extra patrol out there at your place too, out Hilltop?
Yeah, it's, the main time is nighttime, Brandon, about, say, 6 to midnight. There's especially some little old, sports cars that come through there, and I mean, they're not necessarily don't live, they live in those subdivisions back on Pear Street, back down in there.
Okay.
That's coming through there.
I'm actually sending those requests out now.
Thank you, Brandon.
Did you just go ahead and put the whole city involved?
Extra patrol all over town. Yeah.
Could you do anything about Boswell Court?
We wouldn't have to chase them far out there. It's a dead end, ain't it, Billy?
Literally.
Block them in pretty easy.
I heard it needed some asphalt out there. At least that's a rumor.
What was the neighbors think?
Clayton, you have anything else? Gene?
I'm good.
Danny?
I'm sorry, I do. Billy took my first one, but the only other thing, Wes, I had somebody lives out close to the dump, said they've had 4 flat tires because of the debris. I assume there's really nothing, or is there anything at all can be done about that?
We run a magnet over the, 2 or 3 times a week or day anymore, and take a broom and try to sweep it, but we probably get 50 loads of shingles a day.
Yeah, I told him that, but you are trying to, with them, I'll tell them.
Yeah, of course, a lot of the roofing nails are aluminum, so the magnet don't pick them up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can run our broom trying to, and
Okay,
there's just only so much we can do there.
thanks.
I've probably got 8 plugs in my truck car. So, I mean,
Thanks. That's all.
Okay. Sabrina, you have
Oh,
anything?
no, I'm good.
Early.
No, I'm good.
Wes?
Yeah, I gave you all a letter. About 99% of the garbage cans have been delivered to the residents, and I'm still working on the smaller cans for the residents that had trouble with the large ones. But we do, probably of that 99%, 90% are using the cans like they should. You have a can, if they have one just like it, they're using those, but you still have a few piles that are excessive. And a lot of times, they won't even be using our can, it's laying in their backyard or something, and so this is just something that we're gonna go around in front of the trucks on the route and address those situations and just put these letters on their can and let them know that, you know, we are gonna quit picking up everything that they put out there unless they call us and let us know. You know, if you clean out your closet or something and you have a bunch, just call and we can send an extra truck out there, but, you know.
I think you'll have more with cardboard than you will.
You will some, especially around Christmas, and of course,
Yeah.
that's not gonna be understandable, but, you know, that time, we usually send a pickup truck through the neighborhoods too, to help with the boxes and stuff, because you just, you know, you don't have time to sit there and load everything. Our routes are gonna be, you know, days behind anyway because of the holiday. So, and with using the cans, I only have 2 trucks that have those on it until we get our new truck, which is gonna be March or something like that, so, you know, I won't be able to run an extra truck in the residential areas because they don't have the tippers on. So, we're still gonna be backed up some, and there's gonna be exceptions too, but we have some that just, I mean, it's just blatantly disregard everything. I mean, they just pile and pile, and I don't see how some residents would have that much trash in a week's time. But, you know, this gives us something to where maybe we can let them know that, you know, we're not gonna pick it up all the time unless they call us and go from there, so.
Well, if you miss a time, if you miss a day though, and then you gotta wait that next week to put it out, you're gonna have more than that one can full.
Yeah, if you miss, but if you call us and let us know, hey, I missed my garbage, or so I wasn't home, or, you know, I missed
Yeah.
this week, I'm gonna have a large amount. You know, then when the truck comes through, they'll dump the cans, but if it's an excessive amount, then I'll send a pickup truck to get the rest of it, instead of having to.
But the paper here says that you would have, the second can they have would have to be approved by you.
Right. And we have a lot of people that use the 30-gallon cans
Yeah.
and stuff that's the reason why we went with the big cans to use with the truck, to get away from all those, so, and we got people that use 55-gallon barrels that they roll out there and. You know,
That's
I've
hard to
had them-
handle.
Yeah, they are, and that, you know, if we keep allowing them to use everything else, then it defeats the purpose of buying the cans. So, I mean, it's just kind of lets them know that they need to use a can that our truck will dump. And we purchase them for them. And a lot of people are letting you, they'll just set out their barrel and leave our can sitting on the porch.
Yeah.
So, you know, we just gotta try to get away from a lot, and it's gonna take a little while, you know, to get through this, but eventually I think it'll be to where our cans or one similar is all we have to try to dump. So, that's all. I was just gonna let y'all know that if y'all was okay with me telling them this, that's why the letter. And like I said, 90% of the people are doing great. You pull in a neighborhood, you see nothing but blue cans, and, you know, my guys are tickled. All they gotta do is roll to the truck comes. And they get to the end, and there's 4 55-gallon barrels sitting there full of dirt and rocks and everything else that we can't get, and we, you know, get calls why we didn't dump their trash and stuff like that. But, you know, if they're not allowed to use those to begin with, then we won't have to worry about it.
Anything else,
That's all I have
Wes?
on that.
Okay. You got anything else?
Yeah, actually, we're gonna be starting our mosquito fogging soon. We were starting tomorrow night, but weather and stuff. You're also gonna see us, we're gonna start to set traps, mosquito traps out in different areas of the city. And with the mosquito cost of the chemical going up so much, these traps will kind of let us know where we have problem areas with mosquitoes. And if there's not any in the trap, there's no reason for us to spray that area that night. So once a week, the night before we spray, I'll set traps out. We'll check them the next morning and we'll know where to go that night. So, you know, we may be fogging over Billy's place, area, not being sure because there wasn't any in the trap. So it would be different sections of town when they see us, and they may be all over town, so.
So what do the traps look like?
It's a little old net, it's got a light around the top with a little fan in it.
And you'll set them out?
Yeah, it's just a small one, and I've set them out at places, like, even if people would like might set one at Billy's or your house or something, just let you know that it's gonna be there. It's got a little blue light around the top and a battery pack, and it draws the mosquitoes, it's got a little fan that sucks them down in the net.
You most definitely bring them to my property because I have a huge creek that runs behind there, and I would love for you to catch all of our mosquitoes.
Well, this will let us know, if there's only like 3 or 4 in there, then it's gonna ice the mosquito guy, said, when do you know you need to spray? He said, anytime there's 20 or more in the trap. So that'll give us something to go by. So, but in the next couple of weeks, you'll see us out fogging through the week and everything, so it's getting that time. But other than that, I think that's all I've got.
Brandon, you have any new business?
No, sir, no.
Tyler? With that in mind, I will entertain an option, or a motion to adjourn. Motion by Clayton, second by Gina, all in favor?